How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees, and I'll tell you how I'm doing. I'm feeling like a load of crap because, we lost out on Yoshinobu Yamamoto yesterday, and we've been talking about him for weeks. This is not a story that's been undercovered. We've overcovered this story, and it sucks that we came out on the wrong side of this, and it does tell a few specific details. We're going to talk about the implications of this, why the Yankees decided to go against, spending over $300 million. Did it have anything to do with Garrett Cole and his $324 million deal, spending that type of money on a player who's never pitched an MLB inning before? Is it worth it? We'll talk about that. Obviously, we would have been like, yeah, it's freaking worth it if we ended up getting him. Now we have to look at the alternative and play devil's advocate and say, okay, like what's the positive to not spending that much money? And, of course, he joined Shohei Ohtani in this super Dodgers team with Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and so much talent. It's going to be really tough to take them down. But, again, nobody really knows if Yamamoto will be great. It really is just a projection at this point in time. He's never done it in MLB, but the upside of him is elite, and there's a lot of outs apparently in the deal. It was a 12-year deal, so I think it averages about $27 million per season, but he has a bunch of outs. So he's 25 years old. Who's to say that he doesn't end up with the Yankees in the future? Once he's actually adjusted to the MLB a couple years down the road, he's really, really good. The Yankees are like, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll bring him in at that point in time. Obviously, we prefer to have him now, but Ryan, I'm sure you could probably agree. Now we look toward Roki Sasaki as the guy we really, really want, donning the pinstripes as a guy who would definitely be going in the route of more international free agent signing and not really being posted. He's only, 22 years old. Of course, it's a hope. It's a dream. We just, hope the Yankees can land a player of that magnitude. But the Dodgers are now kind of this evil empire that we hope the Yankees would be this offseason. And we haven't spent any real money in free agency, right? Juan Soto was acquired via trade. Alex Verdugo acquired via trade, making next to nothing for Verdugo. Soto was expected to make around $30 million. So, I wouldn't call that a free agent acquisition. The Yankees need to spend money. They need starting pitching, and they need it freaking now. Now, the question is, where do they look? Blake Snell, and I was just watching, Mark Feinsand of MLB Network said that he does not believe that the Yankees are going to be interested in Blake Snell because of his inning limits, and, there are some things they don't really prefer in his game. He walks a lot of batters. However, internal talks about Jordan Montgomery. We'll discuss him. Maybe a 3-for-1 special, like a Montgomery, Montas, Jordan Hicks acquisition. And then you have some trade options like Corbin Burns and Shane Bieber. We'll discuss them as well. So Ryan, how are you feeling this morning? I know probably down, disappointed, little heartache after that. Weeks of talking about how this guy would be a great fit, and he would have been. Obviously decides to go with Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, and got a ridiculous contract that certainly could be worth it.
Yeah, to clarify, to open this up, I thought the Yankees were going to make a ridiculous offer, and they made a $300 million offer, right? When you add up the posting fee, it's about an extra, I think it's an extra $30 to $40 million in there. I think it's closer to 50 actually. So, let's be real here. If you told me on October 1st, the Yankees would offer $300 million to Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I'd say, yeah, he's a Yankee. The Dodgers are willing to go to 325. They're willing to go to 12 years. It's unclear whether the Yankees would have gotten Yamamoto had they matched the Dodgers' offer. Reports came out from guys like Martino that the Yankees loved Yamamoto. That was 100% true, but not to the extent that they wanted Juan Soto. And, I'm not going to sit here and say, it's fine that we didn't get Yamamoto because we got Juan Soto. But if you asked me who I'd rather have for this team, the answer is Juan Soto, right? Realistically, right? That is the answer. If we were going to walk away this offseason, one of the two guys, walking with Soto definitely feels a little bit better than it would have with Yamamoto because of the way that the offense has been and with the way the Yankees can kind of just churn out relievers, right? We're talking about maybe signing Jordan Hicks, right? But if they sign, let's say, Montas and, acquired Bieber per se, that moves Schmidt to the bullpen. They don't need a reliever at that point. You know what I mean? They have a really good bullpen. They've always had really good bullpens. So I'm not concerned there. The top of the rotation is definitely it's Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's, we know what Garrett Cole's going to be. There are question marks in Rodon and Cortez. You have to hope that they kind of bounce back. You're always going to have to hope that. So it's not like that's new information for Yankee fans, but, you're going to have to rely on two guys who weren't very good last year being better. That was always going to be the case, but, Yamamoto certainly was going to be the guy that was supposed to help with that and stabilize because he is a top of the rotation kind of guy. And if you look at the Yankees options here, Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, I'm going to say they're not happening. I don't think the Yankees are going to shell out $160 million for Jordan Montgomery. I don't think they're going to shell out close to $200 million for Blake Snell, nor should they. That's kind of the reason why you signed Carlos Rodon so that you didn't have to do that, right? These are guys who are, entering their past age 30 seasons. I'm good on that. Then looking at a guy like Corbin Burns, that would be an excellent fit, right? He's probably going to give you 200 innings, bulldog, ace, everything of the sort. But the Yankees are not trading the prospect capital that are required to get him. I've seen people say, all right, just give them Peraza plus. No, that offer starts with like them saying, hey, how much can we get Jason Dominguez in this deal? The Yankees saying no, and then them going, all right, can we get Chase Hampton in this deal? And other pieces as well. And the Yankees just traded their top pitching prospect, or a guy who was a contender for their top pitching prospect. Hampton and Thorpe kind of always were a 1A, 1B situation. You're going to trade your 1A and your 1B. Like, that feels a little bit much for a rental, and it doesn't really feel like it's going to be realistic for the Yankees' plans. They want to win sustainably as well. Like, they don't want to just blow it all up this year and, pray to God that they sign Soto. We just saw that, Yamamoto was the guy that we thought that they were going to get, and they didn't get him, right? So free agency still always has those, like, I guess to put it, they still have those, twists and turns and things that we don't know and things that we aren't privy to. So there's that. And then finally, looking at a guy like Dylan Cease, again, it's kind of a similar situation. It's going to cost you a ton. Yeah, you get that second year of him, but I'm less sure of him than I am of Corbin Burns, and I'm probably going to have to trade more to get him. So there's that. I just want Yankee fans to know that no matter who we get this winter, from this point forward, and it was evidently a little bit true with Yamamoto to an extent, you don't know what you're getting in that starter. You have no idea what you're getting in that starter. And the way that pitching injuries have moved, they're shortening the pitch clock even more. A lot of these guys are going to get hurt. Like, you can trade for, a guy who's a quote-unquote bulldog, and they could have elbow inflammation and be out for 2 months randomly. That's just the nature of how baseball is right now. They're speeding up the pitch clock. Pitchers are getting hurt more than they've ever been. We're throwing harder than we've ever been. I don't know, the Yankees are going to have to take question marks here. They're going to have to be cold in the question marks, and we didn't want to do that. That was not what we wanted to do, but it's where we're at, right? Like, it's cold in the question marks. But I will say this, the Yankees, if they can acquire 2 starting pitchers, you put yourself in a situation where Schmidt's your 6, Warren's your 7, Beater's like your 8, like Heal's your 9, right? Like, that's a good situation to be in. You just have a surplus. You just have as many starting pitching options as possible. Realistically, I view it more as 7. I don't really view Beater and Heel as reliable starting options. But having 7 guys who can say, hey, here's the ball every 5th day is not a bad idea, right? And having that and then assessing at the deadline and going out and get a starter, that's a fine strategy. It's not, it's not going to blow you away. It's not going to we're not going to sit here and do the not Yama Bieber, excuse me. We're not going to do a, Bieber Soto. We're not doing fucking stickers for that or anything like it. But, it'll at least make you better. And at this point, you just got to get better.
You got to get better. And the Yankees obviously are in a position where pivoting is the alternative. It's the only option now. I do like the idea of a combination, like a 3-for-1 special, like a let's say a Jordan Montgomery, Montas, Jordan Hicks type of situation. You end up with a good middle of the rotation guy in Montgomery, who was actually top of the rotation guy last year, maybe number 2. He was that good. And obviously, he proved his worth during the postseason, 2.9 ERA over 31 innings. Now, he's not a high strikeout guy. Like, that's the important thing to know. Montgomery's not going to be churning out strikeouts, but he induces really weak contact, and he knows what it's like to pitch in the Bronx. So there is hope that, he could continue that stretch of good, but there is also fear of regression there. He pitched a career high, 180 innings this past season? Like, he's probably not going to run that back if we're being realistic. So we're obviously, like, looking at a situation where Montgomery's going to get a nice deal. There could be regression there, but he could still be a good player for us. Obviously, Blake Snell doesn't make much sense, but, you mentioned, was it Shane Bieber? A guy that the Yankees could acquire, someone that obviously had a bit of a down year and then could bounce back. What do you think it would take to acquire a player like this? Someone who may not cost a whole ton, but we might have to give up another prospect. Is this a situation where you're kind of leveraging like an Everson Pereira as a peak, a nice piece in a prospective deal? Comparably to Jordan Montgomery, would you rather trade for someone like that, or rather just spend money on Jordan Montgomery, who seems to be, or even Shota Imanaga, who I'm a little concerned that he's going to be not very good in his first year in the MLB. I think it's going to take him a full season to really get there. I don't know if he's a reliable, 2-3 guy, and maybe he's more of a 4-5 guy to start his MLB career. What are your thoughts on, trading for a guy, or rather just spending the money? Obviously, like a Bieber would be interesting.
I think you do too. You do a guy you sign, you go down the trade route, and I think Montas is coming back. I think Montas is a lock to come back, and I felt like he was a lock to come back even if they got Yamamoto. Like, I feel like the reunion's just like, that was like the first thing we heard entering the winter. It's like, oh yeah, the Yankees and the Yankees and Montas, like, they're really interested in Montas. They really want Montas. And Montas would love to come back. All that stuff. It'll happen. 1 year, $10 million. Give him some incentives. and I'm taking that bet, right? Like every day of the week, I'm taking that bet. $10 million for Frankie Montas. I'll take it any day of the week, right? And I know people are going to say, well, he only threw 4 innings last year. Like there's concerns about injuries. Yeah, there are. But again, like if you're doing just get a large quantity of starting pitches and hope that it works out, I'm fine with that strategy, right? I know they kind of tried something similar last year, albeit I'd say with a lesser amount of certainty, right? Like they did a similar thing. They did go out and have, Cole, Montas, Severino, Rodon, and Cortez. But, by the time, March rolled around, Montas wasn't in that equation. So, you hope that you have all of your guys healthy at least to start spring training. Obviously, Rodon is still the same injury risk he was last year. But I will say this, it was the second fewest innings of his career. So, like, even saying 64 innings for Rodon is, not unexpected. It is still, like, significantly less than what he usually throws. Even in years where he's injury prone, he usually got past that 130 mark, right? Or that 100 inning mark for I guess a broader term here. Like, you were expecting at least 100 innings from Rodon, and you didn't get that. I think you can expect 100 innings from Rodon this year, or if not more. Nestor Cortez, again, another guy was like, you didn't expect 63 innings out of him. What in 2022 when he tossed 158 regular season innings and 12 more postseason innings, giving you 170 innings basically of work in 2022? What indicated there that he wasn't going to even be able to get you 70 the year after, right? So there's a lot of like fickle injury stuff where you're just like, you're hoping that those outcomes don't repeat themselves. You kind of have to rely on hope. That is something that I understand fans are going to be uncomfortable doing. I'm certainly going to be uncomfortable. And Alex, I think you agree with me here. Every single pitch these guys throw in spring training, every time they leave a start, every time they look at their hand, every time they do this with their shoulder, we're going to be looking, analyzing, and there's going to be a pit in our stomach. It's gonna happen. It is what it is, right? Like, we're going to be nervous every time these guys pitch. But yeah, Alex, they gave $160 million to Carlos Rodon. They kept Nestor Cortez. They, even Clark Schmidt, he threw 150 plus innings last year, but he's a 2-time Tommy John guy, if I'm not mistaken, or at least a former Tommy John guy. So, they made their bed. They've got to kind of sleep in it, right? Like they've made their bed. This is a rotation that's built around guys who are going to get hurt, or have track records of some sort of massive injury. This is the situation they're in. Like if you want to trade nothing for Bieber, that's fine. I think he's not going to cost much. I would even say he's not even going to cost an Everson Pereira type player. That I'd be fine with that. If you do that in Montas, I think your rotation's a lot better. Imanaga is an interesting option. Like, are the Yankees going to go down that route? There are concerns about the home runs, but do the Yankees have what it takes to fix those issues? Like, maybe it's a matter of just, all right, throw it up in the zone a little bit more, maybe rely on your breaking balls a little bit more, maybe rely on your splitter a little more, whatever it may be. I think the Yankees could be a team that makes Shota Imanaga a lot better, and his projections were right in line with Yoshinobu Yamamoto's. Not to say that his ceiling is the same, because it's not, but can he be like a 3-star or a 4-star in this league? Sure. But then again, if you do like Shota, Imanaga, and Bieber, right? Like, that's a lot of guys. That's 3 of your 4 guys, of your 5 guys in your rotation who have sub 93 mile an hour velocity. So that also is a little bit of a concern. I don't know. Like, there's no perfect answer here. There's no answer here that's not going to make you feel uneasy. And I think that's kind of the takeaway here. There's no answer that's going to make you feel uneasy.
Well, there's a couple things that I would say as like a byproduct of what this, missing out on Yamamoto actually means. The first thing is the Yankees have zero, and when I say zero, I mean freaking zero excuse to not make a monster offer for Juan Soto long term. There is no realm of possibility where the Yankees decide we're not spending the money for Juan freaking Soto. Now, based on the fact that Yamamoto just got a deal, having never played an MLB inning before for $325 million, $27 million per season over 12 years, Juan Soto is going to get paid. And we're not just talking paid. We're talking paid. We're talking back up the Brinks truck paid. Look, he's a 25-year-old Hall of Fame bat in his prime. And we're talking about not in the end of his prime, not in the middle of his prime. He's in the beginning of his prime. He could be this good for the next 7-8 years before he even sniffs regression. Knock on wood, obviously. And then he's been very durable. So this is the type of guy you invest in, and you hope to God you find a gem in, let's say, Chase Hampton or Will Warren, and they turn into really good quality pitchers. Clark Schmidt in addition to that. But listen, like you said, maybe you don't have to give up a whole ton for Shane Bieber. He's a solid arm. He'll give you good starts. But really this whole season, and I'm going to be quite honest right now, this 2024 season may end up falling on the shoulders of Carlos Rodon. Like, his bounce back, if he doesn't bounce back, I mean, we're in really deep shit. Excuse my language. Like, that's really the truth. Like, our starting rotation is going to be really freaking bad if Rodon does not bounce back. Garrett Cole will be the guy, but Rodon, I mean, Nestor Cortez, like, he had the one great year, right? One all-star year. Can we rely on him? I don't think that he is as consistent as we need him to be. He'll be okay. Clark Schmidt, he'll be okay. Probably won't be anything crazy. He'll be good. I think his ceiling is probably good at this very moment. And then obviously like Will Warren, who's never pitched before in the MLB. You know, you just don't know what he's going to be. Montas is coming off shoulder surgery. He's a what if. Burns is a what if you acquire him. Montgomery's coming off his best season year, so you're buying high on Montgomery. You know, there's a lot of what ifs, question marks around these players, but at the end of the day, the Yankees don't have a choice. You know what I mean? You go and acquire Juan Soto via trade, and you send all the prospects that they gave, and Michael King, who's now, I freaking missed the crap out of Michael King. He would have been so good to have. You know, you get Juan Soto, you can't stop here. You know, if you're Cashman, if you're Hal Steinbrenner, you just made a World Series caliber move in acquiring Soto. You can't stop before the finish line. You got to finish the job. You got to go out and spend that money. You got to go out and acquire multiple players, whether that be a slightly supercharged bullpen. Hicks averages over 100 miles an hour on his fastball. Dude's a freaking animal. 3.22 ERA last year. I think he pitched like 65 innings. Good bullpen piece. He could be really, really good with the Yankees if they kind of help him with his location a little bit. Sometimes his accuracy's a bit off. But this guy's special too. So a combination of Burns, Montas, and Jordan Hicks, which would come out cheaper, right? Cheaper than Yamamoto costed in general. So less than $325 million, less than $300 million. You're going to get multiple guys, three pitchers who can help you now with MLB proven commodity, right? Because Yamamoto's never pitched anything before, so we don't really know what he's going to be. We estimate he's going to be phenomenal, but we just don't know. We know that Montgomery's coming off a great year in the MLB with proven MLB postseason experience. We know that Shane Bieber's had really good seasons in the past. Hopefully you can turn that around. And then Jordan Hicks is a stud bullpen arm. Like, you know, I feel like a 3-for-1 special is a decent consolation prize for the main purpose. These guys have proven track records. You know what I mean? If the Yankees want to win a World Series in 2024, they go after guys who are coming off good seasons or at least could bounce back to have some good years. I mean, you could, for less than $300 million, you could get Hicks, Bieber, Montgomery, and bring back Frankie Montas. That's 4 pitchers, 3 of them starting, and then you move Clark Schmidt to the bullpen and have him as that kind of spot starter if you need be, or even Nestor Cortez. Like, if you get, there's going to be injuries, guys. Like, the Yankees are always having injuries in the starting rotation. One of those guys is going to end up playing pretty quickly. You know, definitely an interesting kind of combination, interesting concept. But guys, you know, want to hear your thoughts below in the YouTube comments. I know you're all upset, just as much as we are. We're really down about it. But end of the day, we move forward, we move on. Gotta keep adding pieces because this team is not done. It's not finished. But we'll keep updating you on all the recent trends, news regarding what the Yankees are thinking. Obviously, internal discussions and stuff like that we hear. It's going to be an interesting couple weeks, but at the very least, the offseason is going to be a little bit more fun for the next couple of months leading up to opening day. So there'll be more moves. Yamamoto would have been like the move, and then they would be pretty quiet for the next 2 months. So at least now we got some news that we can discuss and you know, get through this baseball offseason together, my friends. Obviously, that's the little silver lining that I can come up with, and it's not a fun one for me to say. But appreciate you guys as always. Make sure to stay safe for the holidays. Hopefully, you guys are staying healthy as well. I know a lot of traveling this next couple of days, and you know, please, you know, protect yourself, do your stuff, have fun with the family, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Obviously, Christmas coming up, so maybe we won't see you on that day, but certainly afterward, and hopefully you guys really enjoy the time to wind down and have some good food, spend time with family, and don't think about the fact that we just lost Yamamoto because it freaking sucks. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe. Peace out.